You are now listening to Vibe Selection with Kyra, where you can get the real on today's hot topics.
Well, welcome everybody, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Vibe Selection. I am your host, Kyra, and on today's episode, I have fashion designer Cristy Pratt joining me today. She has become a viral sensation after demoing her capsule dress on a Brooklyn sidewalk that's able to be worn over 60 different ways that garnered over 20 million views and over 300,000 shares. How are you doing, Miss Cristy? Thank you for
Oh my gosh, I tell you what, I am just like so tickled to meet you. I've heard so much about you, and that I was invited to do this is just sort of like the highlight of my month right now. So I'm telling you, it's such a pleasure. And I can already feel you already that I just can't wait to start gabbing with you. So let's do this thing.
Perfect. All right. So first things first, tell me a little bit about your background and where you're exactly from.
I will. And first of all, tell me, am I looking at you when I'm talking, or am I looking at me?
You're looking at me, actually.
Okay, got it. Okay, good. Because I want to look at you. Yeah, technology is not my forte, and I will tell you this. The way that I got here through Morph is very unconventional. So my grandmother passed away years and years and years ago. But about 5 years ago, my father gave me a sewing machine from my grandmother. Mm-hmm. And I had never sewn really anything except curtains up until that point. But I felt obsessed to sew. I was living in Fort Lauderdale in this teeny shimpy shack on the beach with 2 kids and a now ex-husband. We're good. But I just became obsessed with sewing. And so I went and I found all these Vogue patterns at this thrift store, and I was like, oh, I've got this, and I'm gonna make gabardine pants like Katharine Hepburn. I'm like, I'm in Florida, why the hell would I wear gabardine? Anyway, I opened these dress patterns up, and for me, I couldn't read a pattern to save my life, and I got very frustrated with myself and was really trying to learn how people do this. So backstory is that I am self-taught. Which means, let me turn this thing off, which means that I didn't go to Parsons, I didn't go to Pratt, I didn't go to SCAD. I have a BS in psychology. So this was not ever part of my repertoire to become a fashion designer. I will say that I got really frustrated and I tossed those Vogue patterns away, but still wanted to sew and create something lovely. So I feel like I was like woken up. Literally, like at 4:00 in the morning, I had 2 little kids at the time to start sewing. And I would start sewing and didn't know anything about creating a pattern or anything like that. And so I would go to thrift stores literally, and because I was running out of money to buy fabric to keep screwing up. Mm-hmm. And so I would buy jersey sheets or anything that had stretch, because I figured if I could create something, what if I could do something else? And I think sometimes, like the curses that we kind of carry, or sort of our deficiencies, like my mind doesn't work like that because I'm dyslexic or whatever, that those things can kind of turn into a blessing if you lean into them a little bit. Like for me, I was like, God, just change my brain. Like if you want me to wake up at 4:00 in the morning, and I'm turning my phone off, and learn how to do this and fix it, make it work. And he said, I'm gonna fix your brain for you. I created you the way you're supposed to be created, and let's just see where this thing goes. And so, in a way, by way of being dyslexic and ADD and whatever, and working in a very unorthodox way, I was able to create something really weird, and really multifunctional. And I don't know how to sew a button or a zipper, and so you ain't ever gonna have to squeeze yourself into one. I mean, honestly, like
whatever works.
Right. Well, and it's sort of like, what do they say? Necessity is the mother of invention. I was like sweating my armpits off in Florida, South Florida. I'm a hot-natured, fiery woman. And I would get all like dressed up and, doing this to go out for then you're like, oh my God, I'm sweating. And so I wanted something that I could like take off, cool off, and pull my arm out and make it short and whatever, so that I wasn't like just roasting all the time, you know?
Mhm.
And so that's kind of where the concept started. And then I showed it to a friend who, she said, if this thing looks good on me, then we can do anything. She's a bigger girl, taller, we were opposite body types. And I was like, it's going to look good on you. So I made another one, and she loved it, and which was wonderful. But, you know, I've gotten, there's a lot of stories about startups and a lot of pitfalls that we can all fall into. This business has never had any financial investment at all. I sold the first dress off my back at a party.
Wow.
And went home in my friend's shorts and flip-flops, which I do not wear. Don't wear flip-flops. But so then I had enough money to make 3 more dresses, and then I could make 9, and then I could whatever. And so that's quite literally how this business started. And then before you know it, we're doing Miami Swim Week and Fort Lauderdale Underground and Chicago Fashion Week and all of these things, because there's a need for something different, you know, and there's a need for all women to feel beautiful. And this dress happens to really accentuate every body style. Like, I mean, I'm built like a 14-year-old boy with boobs. I mean, that's all there is to it. There's no waist, there's no whatever. And so I'm going to wear it differently than you're going to wear it. But it's going to show off your curves. And all of a sudden your waist looks like this. And it accentuates that hourglass figure that I know is hiding under that Zoom call.
It is.
I'll show you for a second. But so that became a lot of fun, you know. But it's been a long process. And I think when people see our Instagram or 35 million views on something or whatever, that it's like, oh, it's an overnight sensation. It's like,
I've been doing
it. What is that? But you know, they kind of want to say, oh, well, if only you could, or if I was skinny, I could wear that thing too. Or, and it's like you get haters and you get negativity as you start to grow, and you know this. But I can't be anything other than myself. And so I let things kind of roll off of me. And I want every woman to feel beautiful, and I want to do things that are good for the earth. And I don't want to lose myself in the process. And so it's been a slow growth process, but it's been worth it for sure, you know?
Yeah, that's wonderful. And you know, my thing is, when you think of fashion, a lot of times it has been garnered towards a certain type of figure and size of a woman and the ideal looks and stuff like that. So to see that you've created something that is not only you're able to wear many different ways, but it's also awesome that you accentuate a woman's curves. You try to bring it out of them. It is not just exclusive to one body type. It is exclusive to all types of women.
All types of women. And like, that's the thing. The deal is this. It's not the dress. And we buy other pieces, not the Nomad Rob. It's not this. It's not that. It's how we feel and what we wear. You don't buy this piece, don't buy this piece. But buy the things that make you feel beautiful and comfortable. This, you don't sacrifice comfort for beauty. And I'll more for you and show you little reasons why. But when we feel comfortable, we feel confident. And I don't care what if flip-flops and shorts are your jam all day long, but you have to do you, right? And when you feel like you feel genuine, and there's an energy of when you walk into a room, people are like, huh, look at that, you know? And you might not have a lip gloss on, you might not be feeling it, but people are feeling you. And so this particular piece is like a blank slate to express your creativity, to change your mind on a whim. You walk into a place and it's super, super dressy and you look like you're on the beach. Then you change it up and you put fancy around your neck, and all of a sudden now it works for you. And so I was always wanting to be dressed for the occasion that felt like me. So I used to be a pharmaceutical rep. Corporate America. Oh God, it hurt. I quit 3 times and got rehired back. I was like, I need money.
Right?
Help me.
Oh,
Oh, but it felt like I was sacrificing my soul to do something like that. However, I remember we would go out after work and everybody be in their suit. This is back when in Charleston, South Carolina, where I am. Hey, Charleston.
Wait, are you born and raised in Charleston, South Carolina?
I'm from Virginia Beach originally.
Okay.
I'm from Virginia Beach, so it's not too far. So I've always been a beach girl, but I've been on and off in Charleston for 20 years. I'm between Charleston and then Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and finally back to Charleston. So Charleston is my home. Of course, I get, "Are you from here? Where are you from?" All the time, because I don't think I look like you're, I mean, women come in all different shapes and sizes and colors and fashion and all of that kind of stuff. But I get a lot of, "Are you from here?" But what's fun too is that I've been really embraced in this community, which can be a little pink and green, a little southerny, whatever. And then I walk into a place and women will be kind of looking for a second, because I mean, I'm 50 almost, and they're like,
I love it though.
I feel like people are like,
Fierce.
and before you know it, they're like, "I like this. Like, this is lovely," and it's like, and I think half of that has to do with our vibe of being non-threatening and loving. But I have been more accepted here than anywhere. And in New York, I'd probably be a dime a dozen. So like, we just got to work with what we got from where we are.
Absolutely.
Right.
You're bringing the fierceness to Charleston, South Carolina. You're bringing it out of the people. Yes.
We'll see. I think those are supposed to get it well. You know what I mean? And that's how I just kind of live. Like if I'm talking to like the Queen of England or the homeless person on the street, I'm the same person, and that works for me and it works against me in business sometimes. And I've made some bad business mistakes, I will tell you that. By way of trusting people I shouldn't trust, or, because I honor my word, I expect them to honor theirs. But that is not always the truth, and so there have been some hardships for sure, but we're getting there. One day I'm going to get a paycheck even from all this.
So now let's go back a little bit. So you're deciding to go and demo this capsule dress. What makes you decide to go on a Brooklyn street corner and just start displaying it for the world? Like it looked like a beautiful sunny day. Like it looked like a day you could have a mimosa and an omelet or something like that. So we were at brunch previously, and then the thought just came to that.
Yeah.
Like what is
it's so funny. So the deal is this. We were in Brooklyn. I think it was for the MTV Awards. So we got to walk the red carpet, me and Andrea and I, and I'm not sure which is right. And so we were in Brooklyn, and she's a Brooklyn person, right? So she's hooking us up with all her New York people. I mean, and New York people, I mean, like New Yorkers. I'm not talking about like highbrow stuff. I'm talking about just real, and they're all artistic and they're all just trippy. I thought I was like in Sex and the City for a second. I was like, in a way, like none of them really had kids. And I was like, I think I could get used to this. But the thing is this, so this dress, when I wear it, and I've literally worn it for like years, almost every day, because someone will stop me and say, "What are you wearing? Like, I like this. What is this?" And so I have to show them, and so like doing that on the street was like literally the 500th time I've done something like that. I mean, and I'll have people that are like, "I just morphed in the post office. I just morphed in the grocery store." And it's like, because you can't help it. You want to show somebody what it does because it's so fun, And of course, Andrea, who you interviewed just recently, and guys, if you have not listened to Andrea's podcast, listen to it. She's a gem. Andrea Serrano is just an incredibly artistic, I hate to use the word baller. We got to change that. Yeah, but we got to change baller. Like when we talk about a woman who's a boss, we should use a different word. I don't know. We'll talk about that later.
Okay.
We'll figure that out. Why we can't, like, that's a manly kind of word. But anyway, so this woman that I was passing on the Brooklyn street, I was wearing this plum colored dress, and she's like, "Oh, I like this Haitian accent, beautiful, powerful, loving energy. I like this." And her daughter was with her. And I was like, "Well, thank you. And I was like, "It does a couple things." And she's like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, started doing it. And, she's like, "Wow." And like pigeons are flying by and like horns are honking. But then people are coming down the street, like going like, "What is this?" And that's the beauty of New York, is that people aren't afraid to just get in the mix. And I think that I don't even know what makes something go viral. Believe me, if I did, I'd be billionaire at this point, but it's like lightning striking. You just never know. And hundreds of thousands of shares, and we have 33 or 34 million views just from our Facebook page. And then we find out like that other sites have 10 million views from there and 14 from their site and whatever. And so there is a beauty to the internet for sure. And we do have a very viral piece. Like this on a rack looks like a baked potato. It looks like a piece that like people are like, I don't. So that's why I don't wholesale. I'm not in any boutique because it would take too much work from somebody who's working there who's 22 and chewing gum and on their phone to like really show what this thing does. And so the beauty of social media is that we're able to do that pretty easily by way of videos and such. There's challenges to that too, though. They just changed our algorithms, made us pay for everything. So, stuff happens, but it is what it is.
So how do you come up with the name? Because the name of your clothing line is so unique. It is Morph Clothing. So what was the idea behind the name Morph?
Well, I will tell you this. Before I got into this, I was an ad man, a writer of commercials and taglines and all that kind of stuff. And I still love that. So I love branding. I love the creative. I like wordplay. All that kind of stuff. And I just wanted to create something, a name that said what we were, what we do. I mean, I had House of Sparrow and all of these like sexy highbrow names, to come up with it. But like morph is like, it does morph, it does change. And metamorphosis is like when we go from being like a little caterpillar to a butterfly. And like, that's what I want women to feel. I've had women that have been at like a trunk show and they're really curvy, and I put them this dress on. They're not coming out. And then I'll please get out here. I'm gonna morph you right now, and start tweaking it and making it work for them. And I like it's all of a sudden they feel beautiful. They see themselves in a way they haven't before, because I think curvy women put the box on and they don't have as many options, and they aren't wearing things that accentuate their body because they've been hiding it. And so my biggest joy is when women put this thing on, and I might not wear it the same way they do because I don't have any hips, but she does, and we're going to show those things off, and so that for me was just such an inspiration, and it still is. Every body is beautiful, every shape is beautiful, and I want this to be that blank slate for you to decide what it looks like. You wake up, you feel like leggings, you make it a shirt. You get hot, you take the sleeves off, you do this. We need freedom. We need to make fashion art. Can I say bitch?
Yes, you can.
But fashion should be our bitch. Like, Kira, what happened? Did we like decide that all of a sudden we had to like look like Kate Moss? Like, she looks hungry. You're too young to even know who she is.
I just like Kate Moss is. Yeah.
You sure? Okay. But so like I didn't want us to have to work for fashion. We work too hard for everything else. Make it work for us. Make it work for your moment, for your style, for your mood. You're hot, you're cold. You want to go to soccer, but you don't want to change. You make it a shirt. Like, let's be easy. Time is of the essence as women, and managing a life is really, really difficult. And looking beautiful makes us feel beautiful. And when we feel that way, we emanate something loving into this world when we feel secure. We can fill somebody else's cup up. We can compliment the stranger when we feel good. And that to me is just really what it's about.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So why do you feel like there's not as much diversity when it comes to the display of a woman in fashion? Why do you feel like it's only garnered towards one specific type of person? For so many years, the stick figure, tall woman, very pale.
And I think we all know that's changing a little bit, right? But it's changing by way of the dollar. So most of these big fashion houses are like, well, okay, body shape is changing and we need to sell to that and whatever. Mine just started instinctively, that, and as we age, like, when did age become ugly? Right. When did curves become fat? When did why are all of these things wrong? Like, in my spirit, and I'm not a religious person, But I'm a God person, and I have a connection to the whole. I haven't been to church in 20 years, so when I preach, I'm preaching on a bigger level. I'm not.
Spiritual.
What I'm saying is that God made you to rock you,
Mhm.
and He wants you at your best all the time.
Mhm.
And I want women to feel beautiful all the time. I don't. I have people that write, they're like, "Well, I'm just waiting until I lose a few pounds to get the dress." No,
Mhm.
light the candles, drink the good wine,
Mhm.
invest in yourself, and then you feel better. You
Mhm.
don't wait until you're perfect. No,
Mhm.
that's not going to happen.
Yeah,
Never going to be perfect. God doesn't want you perfect. He wants you, you
exactly.
know?
100%.
And the way this is sized to just this dress, and then we've got other pieces coming, but it's just really your bust size that matters. So I'm trying to shake. I've never been a small. I'm a plus size woman. Well, yeah, but if you've got a 36 bust, all you have to do is have this dress stay up when it's worn strapless.
Mhm.
Like I want to change. Like people are, my thighs are big. I'm like, this dress covers everything you want. Like it's all about how you wear it.
Mhm.
And so that's been a little difficult, a bit of a challenge. The sizing concept of, people order an extra large dress or something. I always reached out. I was like, just because you're an extra large in everything that you've worn does not mean you're an extra large in this piece.
Mhm.
Let's change what this is supposed to look like. And that's been a little bit of a challenge, but a good one, for sure. But like I said, I create simple pieces by way of, I'm not a trained designer. I am dyslexic. I feel like Sisyphus rolling the boulder up the hill for it to just roll back down some days. But I've gotten so many words of encouragement about being an inspiration, which sounds really weird, but being an inspiration to others to love themselves and love their bodies the way they are today, you know? And this really changes. You can wear this as a maternity dress before you're pregnant, after you're pregnant. It's the same piece. Nothing changes. And I don't know. I just wanted to do something inventive and fun and I mean, and easy for all of us.
And you succeeded because you're here today.
That's right. And I'm on your
True.
podcast, girl, which feels
Yeah,
really special.
absolutely. So, okay, I've always been curious to know, how do you do the sizing process for your clothes? How does that usually work? Because, like you just mentioned, like sometimes you can wear certain extra large in another brand and it's not going to be the same for your brand or any other brand. So,
Right,
how does that work exactly?
right, exactly. Okay, so let me show you real quick. So
Okay.
I'm going to try to do this. These are sleeves, right? And they do everything. There's two sleeves. So
Oh,
now it's a strapless
okay.
dress.
Like that.
I'm going to try to maybe move this thing back so I can show you just a little bit what I mean by sizing. Okay, so let's see. And I've got a little belt on here.
Okay.
So, so you make pockets with the sleeves. You go like this,
Oh.
drop them in,
Uh-huh.
and then all of a sudden you have this like full length maxi dress
Uh-huh.
situation. And so what you really want to do is you want to make sure that this fits here
Hmm.
because you just don't want it to slide down. Everything else is really super forgiving. And so you use the sleeves to create a bunch of different looks. So if I had a waist, I would
That's
this.
big. You have a waist right now, though, but that dress,
Well, a little straight down, but
like,
like for those who do, they want to wear it with the sleeves tied around here. So
mm,
you accentuate your hourglass, right? You
exactly.
don't have to worry about how thick your thighs are or how big your booty is or any of that. And then, with Zoom calls and everything changing, you just do a little bit of this,
Oh, I love that.
right? And it just becomes super elegant. And you bring this down and you always feel a little pulled in. So even though there's a lot of fabric, you get to see this slim sort of
Mhm.
visual happening, which feels really good. Like as we age, like I don't want to look like I'm going to prom. I don't
Exactly.
want to look like Lisa Vanderpump and squeeze into this thing, but I want to go and look and feel beautiful in an instant. And this is what this allows. And so it's fun. And I think that when you get to express kind of who you are
Mhm.
and wear this, like not dressy, wear it with big clunky motorcycle boots and a jacket and a whatever, like it's
Mhm.
just a blank slate. And I think creativity and expressing yourself, I mean, everybody wears this piece so differently. It's just the most fun, because I don't want you to be me. I don't want you to be the best me you can be. I want you to be the best you can be, Kari. You know what I mean? Like that's what I want.
Want to bring it out of all women that wear your clothes, bring their true nature out. Their true
Absolutely. Absolutely. And make it easy. Easy to look sexy in 2 seconds.
Yes.
I wish I could wear something else. It's so funny. It's like, but I always go back to the morphs. I'm like, years into this thing, I'm still not bored, because it's just, I know that I can change it to look like a New York street vibe, or a high calorie, highbrow, like champagne toast and all that stuff. So, and there's a little bit of all of that in all of us, right? But change is a really important thing, and that's why it's
the fact that you also make clothes for people that are maternity clothes. You make wedding dresses.
Thank you.
Can morph it to anything, essentially traveling. Like, it's so convenient.
It is convenient. It is. And, the thing is this too, is sustainability is like really important to me. And I wanted to create something that you didn't want to throw away, that you could pack and take 1 or 2 morphs with you, a pair of white jeans, some sandals. You can wear it as a bathing suit. So this thing comes up, I don't want to show you too much, but comes up as short as you want it, becomes a shirt. You can wear this to the cabana and get a suntan, drop it down, and then have cocktails in the evening and still feel like you're not schlepping your entire closet with you. I would travel and like squeeze stuff into my thing, and like it still wouldn't fit on the plane, and I'm like tossing stuff out, and what can I live without, and there goes underwear, and there's one boot over there, and like now I can get on the, I'm like, this is a nightmare. Stupid. So I wanted to create pieces that were easy to travel with and easy to work with, and and be sustainable. Like, let's stop buying so much crap.
Exactly.
Like everything I don't know about you, but I've never spent a fortune on clothes. I mean, like, I'm a TJ Maxx kind of girl. I just make that work.
Ross.
But like I would, right, absolutely. But I was doing that for almost everything that I had to go do. Like back when the world was still ticking and we had things to go do 3 times a week, I felt like I was shopping for every event, some cheapy thing that I would wear once, and then I had to look at it the rest of my life in my closet and hated it, and it was like, if we can create something that you can change to suit any occasion, then you don't have to buy crap. And if we stop buying crap, they will stop making it. So, like pollution, and this was just so amazing to me when I really got into this. Fashion is second only to petroleum.
Wow.
And the amount of waste that it creates. Stunning, right? To hear this. I mean, clothes, it's second only to oil for the filth that it produces. But to make clothes, to make a pair of jeans, I don't know, it's like 800 gallons of water and all sorts of crazy stuff. And we really don't think about that. But the average person, and not just Americans, but the average person throws away 80 pounds of clothing into landfills every year. 80 pounds. Multiply that by the, 60 billion people. I'll get that wrong, but it's a huge waste. And these materials break down into our oceans, and then we're eating fish that have plastics in them and all of that kind of stuff. And I was like, how do we make this a better world for our kids? How do we shop wisely, not want to throw stuff away so quickly? And so then the materials that I wanted to use became real important. And so most of my pieces, 99%, are made from modal, which is bamboo. And bamboo is very quick growing, and it is very good for the environment, and it doesn't tear up the soil. It's got very shallow roots. Cotton, on the other hand, is a huge polluter, and it takes so much water and so much pollution in the process, and dyeing and this and that, that it's a nightmare, and it doesn't last very long. It shrinks, it pills, it ends up in the landfill, right? So if you start with a good and beautiful regenerative fabric, you're starting from a good place already, You're not doing a lot of damage to the earth to create something. And I think that's just so important. I mean, I don't know what the answer is for the environmental stuff, but I do know that we and how we shop can really start to change some of that, and so that's pretty exciting too. I'm happy about that.
Absolutely. And, we're dealing with global warming still, like you said, we're having when it comes to clothing, a lot of people just throw it away. I know people give it to Goodwill sometimes too, but what is that really doing? You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
it slows down the process, but it still eventually ends up in the landfill. So,
Exactly.
yes, it gets a little bit more use, but then it's still trashed at some point, right?
Exactly.
And so we would just want to keep that from happening. And I just want people to invest in themselves. This is not a crazy high price point. I
Mhm.
mean, I see people with Louis bags and this, that, and the other, and whatever, and some people are like, well, that's just expensive for a dress. It's like $248 or something.
Mhm.
But all of these pieces are made by hand by
Mhm.
one woman who
Mhm.
lives in Miami, who I adore. And I fabric comes at a high cost for me because I'm not a huge business. I don't source from overseas. Everything is from the US. And so you're getting handmade quality, which is really important to me. And I want to invest in our communities and our community seamstresses and so forth. And I want to keep it small. This might look bigger on Instagram and Facebook than it is.
Mhm.
Hey, I won't fake it till you make it. That's
It's
fine. That's fine. I can't sacrifice my morals to make it bigger than it should be or faster than it should be. So it's taken a long time. Only 4%, Kyra, only 4% of fashion designers produce in the US. There's only 4% of the clothes in your closet that say made in the USA.
Yeah.
4%. And I want to change that. I really do. So we'll see. I mean, one
Began.
step at a time.
Process is started. And
Process
so
started.
that's the thing I love about your brand though. It's eco-friendly, eco-conscious, and like you said, it's important for you to get fabrics, to get material in that you're able to dispose where it's not harmful to the environment.
Absolutely.
So that leads me to my next question. Why do you feel like most designers, most brands don't source their stuff from the US and they have to go outwards to source it, and they don't use materials that are not harmful to the environment? Why do you think it's like that when it comes to fashion?
Well, I think it's like that for when it comes to almost everything. I think people really want to grow really fast, or maybe they start with a mega investment and they have to fulfill that investment. So they got to sell 100,000 units by Thursday or whatever. And so then they start chasing the penny,
Mm.
the nickel, the penny. How do we make it cheaper? Let's cheapen the fabric. Let's use a plasticky fabric, or let's go overseas and use unethical. And not every place overseas is an unethical situation. I don't want to say that. There are places in Honduras, there are places in Asia that are now having to live up to the standards of the companies that they work for. So that could be changing. But I think most companies have to, they're out for the almighty dollar. And so to do that, they cut as many costs as they can.
Mhm.
For us, it's like I said, it's a small group, and if we can kind of grow slowly, slow growth is a good thing.
Mhm.
But it's easier, and they save a ton of money, and their markups are ridiculous. And so I don't think they have the long game in mind. I think that they want to be mega successful, and that's the fastest way to do it is saturate the market with something. But for me, Kyra, it's like people aren't making this dress. People aren't making these multi-wear pieces that I'm making. I'm not competing with the pencil skirt or the other 900,000 pencil skirts. Do you know what I mean? I know I have something special and something different. And so in that, it's worth it. And if you can't afford it yet, then save up for it because it's worth it. And so I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to chase a nickel, to save a dime. I'm just not. And, I'm not saying that I will never source. If I can find a beautiful fabric in Singapore, fantastic. There are artisans all over this world for sure, but I will go there and sniff it and smell it and make sure everybody is well treated, and all of those things. It's not in the end of the day, it's not about the almighty dollar for me. It's about touching people and creating a platform to share that if I can do it, you can do it. Whatever that dream is. I don't have the education to do this. I have no funding. No one's ever made this type of thing. A lot of challenges, dyslexia, didn't get that out right. Um, but a lot of challenges. But if it's on your heart to do it, just do it. You know, like living with the regret of not taking a chance. And it doesn't even mean being an entrepreneur either. I mean, shoot, girl, this stuff is tough, right?
Yes.
You have to have a lot of grit to get through this and feel defeated. And I mean, it's a difficult situation sometimes. So it's not even about that, but it's about just taking a chance. And if it's a half marathon, sign up for it. What the hell? You know, get 3 miles in, but you tried, you know, and that's what I want people to take from me and from my story, I think, is just that live from your gut and everything else will fall into place eventually.
Absolutely.
It takes some time.
Yes, ma'am. And that's a great point. That's a great point you made, because a lot of people think that when they start off becoming entrepreneurs, that the money just falls into your lap. And a lot of people have to understand that there's a process to this all. You know, some people are blessed enough to go viral right from the gate. And then some people have to work 10, 15 years to get to a point where they're even able to make money off of what they're doing. So in your particular case, like you were saying, did you have to invest in yourself? Like, was this money that you had that you put into the company to build?
Oh, hell no.
But what was the process and how
there's not a damn dime from anyone. I'm not in debt. I'm recently divorced. I had to make this work. I have to care for my children. No, there was nothing. And no business, at least that I know of, is like, I sold one so I could make two, and I sold two and I could make four. I'm just slinging these things out of the back of my car, you know, and it's still tough. I mean, I'm living in a rented house, you know, fresh off divorce, and my ex and I are tight. It's a good situation, whatever. But financially, it's still a challenge, you know, and we're looking for investment now, because who doesn't? Now it's time to scale. We have a proven product that people need, that people want. So maybe there's a Shark Tank, and maybe there's an angel investor just for, you know, media marketing spend, which has gone up exponentially. But I guess that's my point. It didn't start the way it typically starts, you know, and I always say for white people, and I know I'm going to get in trouble for that because I'm white, but I'm Native American and Greek is what I am. But I'm just saying, like, if I started the traditional way with like, I just have this idea, and so daddy's going to go ahead and get me a little shop, and if it doesn't work, no big deal, and my Instagram looks good, like, that's not this, you know? And so my point is that don't compare somebody's A-roll that you see on social media to your B-roll. Life is B-roll for all of us, you know? But one day, and I have a lot of faith, but like one day, I don't want to worry about money. You know, I want to have enough money to bless people and to go to Africa and to go to India and to work in the slums and to inspire women and to teach them to sew, and all of those things are so much bigger, you know? And so when we prosper, my goals will change. You know, I don't care about being famous. I don't care about being the next best thing on Instagram. You know, I care about my soul's mission. And I think for me, it's to see the God in you when you forget it and say, yes, you've got all these things and you've got all these challenges or whatever, but I can see in you the beauty and the gift, and bank on yourself and give it a try. Because when you do, I feel like when you're in alignment with what is on your heart, that things will start to open for you. And not instantly, but you got to have that grit that keeps you going. And you have to know what you're not good at. I'm not a business person. I don't want to look at spreadsheets. I don't know how to use Google Drive. I mean, there are things that, like, I absolutely hate about running the business of business. But I do have people that I can trust now that have taken a hit financially, because we were in a bigger space and going viral and all of this stuff. And then COVID hits, and then who's shopping and where are we going? And nothing's happening. And ad spend goes crazy because we can't leave the house, and algorithms change. And like, it can be the perfect storm sometimes, but you have to be willing to stick with it and to find some people that you can trust, really trust. Like, I trust you until you really, really, really screw up. And I've had to sort of change that prospect a little bit. Now I trust and I listen to my gut, but I have to wait and see. I'm too old to screw up again, really, with a bad partner or a business partner or whatever. And so I feel like we have to listen to our spirit. Sounds crazy. This just came to mind. Trust God, but tie up your donkey. I don't even know what that means. What it means, though, to me, I think, is like, trust that this is coming to you for a reason, but do your due diligence down here. Find the people that are willing to barter for, I need your brain and you need my brain. So maybe we can kind of do this for free for a bit and see what happens. Find people who can help you succeed in the things that you are not good at.
Absolutely. So you know what? That's a good point. That's an awesome point, a great point that you just made about how when it comes to business, a lot of times you don't always know who to trust. And sometimes you have to go through that trial and error in order to figure out, okay, is this person going to work for my, am I going to be able to work with this person? Or are they going to stab me in the back? And if so, what can I do in a situation next time where I don't have to allow that to happen?
Right.
Actually, this is another interesting point is I was listening to a interview that DMX actually just did on the Drink Champs podcast. God rest his soul. But he had made an awesome point, and that was, to trust a snake to be a snake.
Right. When they show you who they are, trust it.
Exactly. And that's not to say that you can't that's not say, like, if you have to work with them and you know that they're a snake or whatever, that even if they try to bite you, it's like, okay, well, I already expected you to bite me, so I'm not mad about it. I just trust you to be who you say that you are, or sometimes that you don't say, but there's the discernment that lies within me. I'm able to figure that out for myself, and it's trial and error, and that's what life is about in general.
Absolutely.
All the time. You're not going to make $1 million all the time, but with trial and error, you may be able to become that overnight viral sensation, or you may be able to make that $1 million that you so deeply want to. So what were some of the situations you faced in regards to business and not being able to trust people? So what were some of those scenarios that you were placed in that you learned from?
Well, I still think I'm legally not allowed to say too much. But I will tell you that I was in a situation where, like I said, I value my word above all else. And that's what I teach my children, is that you're going to have highs and lows. You'll make money, you'll lose money. The only thing you really have is your word. And I value that. If I tell you I'm going to do something, I am going to do it. And not out of obligation. I'm done with obligation. I'm done with screwing around for someone's approval. I mean it deeply. If I say it, I mean it. If I shake your hand, I will not F you over. Now, if they don't value their word like you do, and that was my assumption, doesn't everyone value their word? Doesn't everyone? The answer is almost no one does. Almost no one values their word. So get things in writing. I was told to kind of keep my head down and sew, and was kind of puzzled left and right about what was happening with the business. And it was essentially hijacked from me. And, it was a very costly and humbling experience. I had to go to my father to help pay for attorneys, to do this kind of stuff. But, when they say that, most people that have all this money went bankrupt 10 times, it's like, okay, I'm just trying to like provide and pay rent right now. Like it's a whole different level. When you hear some mega rich person is broke, it's like, oh, are they really? But once you've suffered those losses, you get a little keener. You get a little wiser. You get a thick skin, because as you start to grow, you get haters. You get a lot of haters, and you have to just start to ignore them. That not everybody is supposed to get you. and that's okay. But when they start saying, your dress is too expensive, and so I'm going to like give you a bad review on Facebook that I can never take off, and it takes my 5.0 to a 4.6, and it's like, so you get angry about it. But I just feel like, listen to your gut, but listen to your brain too, and have it, even if it's one person, you want a devil's advocate near you. You want someone to say, I get what you're saying, but this is how it might not work. So then you anticipate how it might not work. And then you answer those questions. Okay, if that's the case, then how could I fix that? You don't want to be surrounded by yes people. Oh, sure. Yeah. Anything you want. Absolutely. You want to be surrounded by at least one person who believes in you deeply, but doesn't just say yes. Who says, okay, like this could fail. And when it does, how do you get out of it? And if you can see it to the end and live with that, then you can go forward. But if not, then you fix the little steps to help get you there. My mind doesn't work that way. I have met a man who is incredibly different from me and deeply the same. And there is such a respect for the other, but he has habits, and he wakes up at the crack of dawn, and he does his reading, and he does his this, and he goes to the gym. And like the only thing habitual I can do is like have a glass of Chardonnay at 5 o'clock. Like, but that's how we work, and I loosen him up and he tightens me up. And I know that he has my best interest in mind. And now he is part of the company, which is wonderful. But sometimes that takes time, rely on yourself, take chances. And like I said, it's not just about being an entrepreneur. Write that children's book that you want to write. Life is short. Life is, even if it's long, it's short. It's never long enough. And so if it's on your heart, one step at a time, go do it. And people, as soon as you start to do that, there's so many people, as you know, that probably came out of the woodwork, girl, that ain't ever going to work. You need to be going to work for this or for that publication or for this or whatever. And you're like, how about I just start with what I have? Because maybe what I have is plenty.
Exactly.
There's no one direct path to success. Success looks like spaghetti. It just kind of does. And once we get over that, and we can handle kind of falling on our faces and pick ourselves up again, whether like it's trying out for choir at church or anything, put your whole heart into it. Because regret for me is, I don't regret anything that I've done. And I mean, if you heard the stories, people will be like, well, why'd you leave a perfect job making a ton of money? It was like, because it's killing me. I can't, they don't get me. That's okay. You've got people that want to keep you safe even, or don't want to see you thrive on their own because they're scared. But the more you thrive and the more that you live in your light, the more they'll live in theirs. I believe that. I believe the more authentic you are, the more real you are, the more real they feel safe being. So they live in their space of growth and potential faster when we do. And we share that, for sure.
And I'm sure that they're up there trying to buy your clothes now. So they were trying to tell you, hey, what are you doing? You need to stay here with me. And then look at them now. They're investing in you essentially. So they couldn't do it. They thought you were insane. And look what happened. You're selling clothes in Africa and Asia.
Yeah, all over the place.
It's amazing. You've been to your clothes have been displayed on the VMAs, BET, LowCountry Live. Like, I mean, it is success. So, I mean, even with the haters, you just gotta block the haters out.
Yes.
People are gonna say what they're gonna say. Everybody's always gonna have an opinion, but at the end of the day, it is, like you said, staying true to who you are and what you want to do in life, and not worrying about other people.
That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. I always say it's not how many, but who shows in your life, right? And we get into this world of how many followers do I have, and how many this, and how many that, and most of the time I feel like people water themselves down to attract the masses, but you're attracting people that don't even know themselves, that they're just following around and whatever. Like, I don't care how many, but I care who shows. I want to make an impact, and not by way of my clothes, but just I want this to be a platform and I want to make a bunch of money doing it so I can hit and run and get off the grid, like, and just learn to paint and not stress and go do wonderful philanthropic things. But success looks different for different people, for sure. But you got to take a chance, right? Just like you've taken a chance. You said, this is what I've got to work with. I'm going to buy the equipment. I've got a good microphone and I've got something to say. And even before that, you're an incredible listener who allows other people a platform to share who they are, which is a really special place. And I've been through all the worlds of religions and studied Buddhism and Hinduism and all of these things. And there's things that are called the Bodhisattva is a Buddhist term who allays their own enlightenment to carry somebody else across the river, because they know what that person needs and they can offer it to them and help them get there. Even if they themselves don't, there's a joy in helping someone else reach their potential and live life to the fullest. And that's a cool gig. I think that's probably a little bit more of my role than fashion designer and whatever, in the process. This is kind of fun though.
Absolutely. But you know what? The beauty in listening to you and hearing you speak and hearing your ideas and your theories about things is that your ultimate goal is to help people. It's not just about you. It's about making people feel good when they're wearing the clothes, making them feel beautiful, garnering people from all different shapes and sizes. And it's not about just making the money. Yes, that would be nice to, like you said, to be dripping in millions and millions of dollars, but it's other people essentially ascend.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, right. And that's what I want to go viral. That's what I want, is for people to feel good and kind and loving. And we do that when we feel confident, right? And like that's what I want to go viral, is a sense of joy in the small things, confidence that allows us to accept a compliment or to pay one to a stranger because we feel like our cup is full, and so we can pour into other people. Like that to me is the ultimate, for sure. That's the ultimate goal.
And you're helping women feel beautiful, feel confident, and just keep doing.
I can sense that you're doing the same. Absolutely.
I try.
You're doing it. You're showing up. I love it.
So, okay, what was the process in you being able to create a blueprint for your business? Now, I know you said why you wanted to create Morph. I know you discussed the look that you wanted to have and everything like that, but after you quit your job working for corporate America, how were you able to get Morph off the ground? What was the process in which you had to go through?
The process was it took me almost 1.5 years to design one piece because I don't know what I'm doing. I don't have the training, yada, yada, all these reasons why I shouldn't do it. But I also got obsessed with creating something, and it was on my heart so much to do it that I couldn't really stop. And I remember, and I've said this before, and I always hate repeating myself, except your story is kind of your story, right? So I've done tons of podcasts or whatever, and it's like, I hope they don't listen to other podcasts. Kind of said the same thing. But the thing is, the truth. My son came to me, and he was very little. He was probably 6 at the time, and I used to call it my cloffice because it was the size of a closet, and it was a closet, but it was my office. And when you sew, you have to be able to lay out stuff like 6 feet wide and 10 feet long and all this stuff. It was just a cluster. And he finally came into this little room and he was like, Mom, like, what are you doing? Like, and it came to me to say, this is long before I had any clue, but I said, I'm starting a fashion line. And he goes, but Mom, you don't even know how to sew. And I said,
You're so honest.
I said, you're right. You know what, Connor? You're right. I don't know how to sew, but I can learn. I can learn how to sew. I can learn how to do this. And if I could leave my children with any blessing of being their mother, it's that they can take a chance on themselves. And it doesn't mean success. It doesn't mean this, but you can do anything. Like, why do we live within limitations? They're just mental limitations, right? Or we're afraid. And I'll tell you this, I sound like a dreamer, but I'm not. I mean, I'm honestly like, I'm scared. I was, financially, how am I going to do this? What am I going to do? And like, I still have a little bit of starving artist syndrome, of like, Clay is like, okay, we got to set goals and a pro forma and all of this, our financials. And if we sell X amount and whatever, it's like, it becomes manifested. It really does. It's like, write the stuff down. It's like what everybody says, right? First of all, like magnetize what you want and then start to get there, but like every day I feel like, I don't know where I put the list. I had a list and I think I wrote it in a journal and it's really cute, but I have no idea where it is. Do you know what I mean? And so for me, it definitely wasn't a straight line. Like I said, I didn't have the backing. I didn't have the education. I just had the drive to follow my spirit. And I think that when we do that, it takes us to really weird places, connects us with the people we're supposed to connect to. And I almost feel like I couldn't do anything else. Like I've had great jobs. I mean, and I can interview I can get any job I want. I will tell you this, and I'm not bragging. But I'm empathic and I know what they want to hear and I can say it and I can whatever. And I'm like, oh, Shaka Khan got that job. Own it, and it's like, just because we can doesn't mean that that's where we need to be. So I just I ask women, men, I mean, whomever, children, like, and I've taught art and this kind of stuff to little kids. And I remember walking into a school, public school, and I would go do this art program and I would walk in and I would say, all right, so how many of you in here are artists? And none of them, and this is third graders, they're like, nobody, right?
Yeah.
And I talked about Picasso and how Picasso spent his lifetime trying to unlearn everything he learned. I mean, he could paint like Michelangelo when he was 9.
Wow.
But he spent his life wanting to learn how to paint like a child and forget the rules, right? And so I want even little children to understand that they too have value, that Picasso, this incredible artist, just wanted to be able to paint and create something like you. You don't even have to have an end point in mind, just start creating, start painting, start whatever it is, and just see where it goes. I think so many of us get caught up in, well, where am I going to be in 5 years and how is this going to work and whatever, that we get in our own way so much that we become disabled and overwhelmed and just don't do it. So just start, whatever that means. Like I said, if it's a half marathon and I haven't exercised since the 90s, but like whatever it is to you, just don't be afraid to try. You just never know what comes from that. Might not look like anything you expected.
Sometimes people are dealing with, their own self-limiting beliefs, like you just said. They're so in their head where they're thinking that they're incapable of doing something that they're completely capable of doing.
Right.
Getting out of your head and allowing the artistry to just flow.
Absolutely.
And create something and make some magic happen.
Absolutely. Or if it's a parenting thing or whatever it is, like it doesn't all have to be the same. We don't have to be entrepreneurs. We don't have to be whatever, but like just get quiet enough to do something for you and do it well, and hopefully that will inspire someone else to do whatever their thing is. Right. And then we're living in a world where people are more content and less defensive and they're not trying to run each other off the road. And all of a sudden we start to love each other a little bit more. Right. When we live in our authentic places, not everybody's going to dig us for sure.
Yeah.
We're going to piss people off. But if you're making everybody happy, just sell ice cream. You know what I mean? You're not going to do that. Right. But you have to stop seeking all of that outward stuff, validation, to really live authentically. And then the ones that come out of the woodwork and these opportunities that are gifted to me by way of Andrea, by way of you, those things will start to happen when you have something to say,
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Sure. So after you got that whole situation started and getting the money and everything else, how did you find out where you needed to go for materials and who you wanted to help you with creating your fabrics? Because I know, like, once this whole thing went viral, I'm sure like your phone was ringing off the hook. Like, we need to order now.
Well, yeah, and you're right. We started selling globally overnight. And literally, I'm going to tell you this: August 5th, 2019. I had to keep the business kind of on the down low, not only from my ex, but a partner financial situation. But like, I remember thinking, God, just let me sell one dress a day. Like, I'm crying and I'm like, come on already, you know? And by August 10th, we had multiplied that to a number that I can't even begin. And they were coming from Austria and Belgium and Spain and Asia and Brazil and whatever, like instantly. South Africa kicked off, and I'm trying to raise 2 kids alone in this teeny little house and figure out things that I'm really not capable of doing, and learn how to sell overseas, and customs fees and duties fees and calculations and stuff getting lost. And it was a crazy time. And I used to have this beautiful studio, and now everything's in my living room and my life is a shit show. But it was a blessing, and it forced you to get your ducks in a row quickly. And I had to ask for some help, you know, but it wasn't overnight. I mean, we were already 3 years into the business before we had this overnight boom. And like I said, if we could keep it like that, that'd be fantastic. But there's a place where that wears off, and where ad spend becomes outrageous because of elections and COVID and stores closing, brick and mortar. So everything becomes a premium, and they pulled the plug on our organic reach. We used to have hundreds of thousands of people every day see everything we posted, and that went down to 4% of what we had before. Wow. So just when you think on this path, you're not on that path anymore. You just have to get used to the roller coaster. You know, I mean, it's like sometimes life feels like it needs a barf bag, but you just have to kind of like roll with the punches. You really do. You just have to roll with it, and manifesting some structure. And I met Andrea, who made me really believe that I could do anything, because she, as you know, Andrea Serrano, y'all listen to Andrea's podcast here, because she is just as vivacious as I'm sure she came off on the podcast. Vivacious, loving, giving, heartfelt, truly enjoys the artistry of what she does, which is production from start to finish, of create your vision. I call her a brand accelerator. Like, she's like, makes things happen quickly, and just is so organized and so deadline oriented and focused, but also so creative. Like, she's got such a balance between both sides of her brain. And when I met her, like, chills all over. We met at the Bennett Hotel in Charleston. And like, I literally thought I was going to have an asthma attack, because I could feel her energy and knew that she loved our, I don't know, symbiotic sort of thing. And literally after that, I immediately met Clay. There was something good that was happening in March a couple of years ago. But then I was surrounded by people that said, okay, now we're going to go to the next level. And now I'm going to get you a spread and skirt magazine. And now we're going to go do Chicago Fashion Week for the second time. And hey, the VMAs are coming up. And, you know, all of a sudden those things felt doable, because I did have a handful of people who said, you know, we're going to hang in there until the money comes. Don't worry. Like, I got your back. And that's what you need. And literally it's 3 or 4 of us that do the entire thing. And I pray it happens that way for everyone, but it took a long time to get there, and to try to find the people that believed in me enough. They would sing my song kind of back to me when I forgot who I was, you know? And so I feel just really super blessed for that. Yeah, for sure. And keep it small. I feel like people think that they need to run out of the gate and get mega investors and do all this kind of stuff. Then you're a slave to their money that you borrowed, and have things that you got to meet for them. And start small. Then you don't need so much. You know, you need to help provide for a handful of things, and be able to go to Trader Joe's and stock up on some easy food for your kids, you know. But then when it does grow, there's not 1,000 hands in the pot either. And I haven't had to sell myself or my vision to Walmart or Target or whatever and work for them. I don't want to work for them. you know, I just want to create and see where it goes. So success looks different to different people,
Yeah.
you know, and I'm not going to lose my spirit for it though.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's all about trial and error too. And ultimately, with the trial and error that you faced in dealing with this business, your paths were able to align with Andrea Serrano and Julian Taylor, who are helping you with the branding aspect of this all. So,
No juju.
yeah.
I mean, these women that it's like they're like fire, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm an introvert. I know I don't come off as an introvert, but I am an introvert for sure. And I'm not afraid of people, but I don't expend too much energy where I know that it's wasted. You know, I just don't need the kudos like that, you know? And so to be surrounded by like literally like a Juju and Andrea and Clay and I mean, it gives you the power to be who you are on a larger scale. And so, like I said, I just can't say enough. For you don't have to have tons of investment. You don't have to have tons of education. You just one foot in front of the other. That's it. Just one foot. It's a slow process sometimes, but you'll get there. You'll get there. And if you don't get there, you'll have a hell of a story to tell. Maybe that's my whole thing. Who knows where I'm going? But I got a story to tell.
And that's the awesome thing about life is you never know where it's going to take you and lead you, or your path is going to align you with. You know,
you don't. You're absolutely right. And I think that we just can't get too attached to the circumstances of our life, because circumstances are always changing. You know, there's always a lump to be found. There's always, you know, when the money's great, the husband stuff is falling apart, or there's a sick kid, or nothing is ever altogether right. It's just not. And money can't buy that for you either. And you see tons of people with tons of money who are miserable or just lost a child or whatever. And, you know, I wouldn't trade my sorrows for anybody else's. You know, we all have them. And so in that, we just have to go day by day with gratitude. Not rely on the things that can fall away. When COVID came, I was like, there goes everything.
Yeah.
There it goes. You know,
there's been a lot of good in it too.
And a lot of good in it.
And I think that's something that a lot of people don't really realize, is they're so focused on, okay, yeah, we know the horrible aspects of COVID with a lot of people passing away and, you know, not having a cure for the virus. However, it's like people have time for family now.
That's right. And they're learning new skills and they're playing the piano and they're leaning into their families and they're cooking dinner when they would go out. And like, so absolutely. I just feel like in my spirit that nothing is wasted. I think God uses all the broken pieces of our lives, of your history, which I would love to hear one day. Maybe I'll interview you when I have one.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
We all have a lot of things that feel broken and that fell apart or that didn't work. And I think that in my spirit, I know that all of those pieces, when God puts them together and there's a reason behind all of it, and we can stand back and get a perspective, we're like, that first greeting card company that I started that didn't last but 5 years did this and that and the other. And you see all these little pieces of your life. And it's a work of art. It's a work of art. All of the good and all of the bad. It's a work of art, you know, for sure. It just takes perspective. Yeah, for sure.
So with working with Andrea Serrano and Julian Taylor with the branding aspect, how have you guys decided to come together with branding Morph itself?
Yes.
What's the concepts behind that?
Well, I will tell you, Julianne Taylor is just an amazing human being. And when I first sat down and talked to her, we have some funny stories about how we met. And but I was talking to her about something, and she said to me in her very Southern voice, she's like, we're talking about negotiating, and you know, I need to get to MTV, but they want all of this money and whatever. And she was like, well, first of all, when someone says no, that's just a starting point for negotiations. And I was like, oh. Like, no, it's just a starting point, honey. And I was like, oh, wow. Because no for me is like, okay, see you later. I'm out. Bye. You know? And she really gave me that confidence to say, no, this is how we start to negotiate. I mean, that savvy does not live here, but it lives in Julianne's head. And she's got my back, you know? Andrea, like the vision that she has and the belief in Morph. And it's so funny because as a stylist, and she's a stylist for Janet Jackson and Jennifer Lopez and Sex and the City and all of these incredible Vogue and Vanity Fair. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing with me? It's because she's authentic and lives from her spirit and it feels good. And I'll tell you what, she could wear just about anything and has a closet like you wouldn't believe. And every day I see her in a Morph. I'm like, that says something to me. But they're just loving. They want the best for me as I do for them. And that support network of women who really care about you succeeding is just really invaluable. And I mean, Julianne is a smart branding person and understands affiliate programs and influencers, and neither of them are scared to try new things. They're trying new platforms and TikTok and learning how to use this and whatever. And I don't even know how to look at an Instagram story. No clue. I don't want to know how. I just want to know it's working and y'all doing it right. And now we have Liza on board with us, Liza Malia, who is also a photographer, and she is taking over some of the posting and stuff. And even the post today that she posted, she knows how I speak. She knows what I would want to convey. She knows that this is not just a business for me, but a place where I want to uplift others. And she is able to craft things. She feels me and can share that, which is really amazing to me. So collectively, and with Clay, it's just not only is he a beautiful human being, we have a special needs son who is just turned 19. I have my two are 11 and 13, Emma's 12 and 14. And our family has grown, and he left his beautiful Park City to come and live here because of his own hardships and COVID and nightmarish stuff. But we never know the blessing of it until later, and so I've got a very full, very busy life that I wouldn't change for the world. Now, would I like to be rich? Would I like to drive a nice car? Yes. And those things are coming, but they will never define me. They just won't. Anything that can be taken away by way of the stock market or all of these things are fleeting. What isn't fleeting is how we love each other on a daily basis and that we live an authentic life. That cannot be taken away. So I want to invest in that and believe that the other comes by way of that. You know what I mean? Not the other way around. So we'll see.
Yeah. So do you feel like your business has faced any challenges since the pandemic, or do you feel like it's still been able to flourish and be successful even with the pandemic?
Thank you for asking that question. I think that's a really timely question. At first, it took a hit. No one was going anywhere. I think it has shifted in that this is what we need for COVID. We need to make this thing a maxi dress and sleep on the couch and watch Netflix. Then we need to Zoom call and look fancy. Or our, new man lives in Europe and we want to have a date night with him. I mean, so it's the perfect piece. So in that, fashion is changing. We're not out there fast shopping for every little event, right? But we want to do something that we feel comfortable in and cozy in, and can go take a walk with the dog and wear a pair of shorts with it. And it turns into a skirt and all of those things. So in that, we've really sort of taken that sort of athleisure feeling into an athlux sort of thing by way of the changeability of it. And so capsule wardrobe, living with less, simplicity, buying better pieces, investing in better pieces that last a long time. I think that people are kind of getting turned on to that by way of COVID, And so I think we've got some flourishing. I think mentally, hopefully that changes the perspective of how people continue to shop. Like I said, if we stop buying crappy stuff, they'll stop making it, and living with less is a lot of fun, and packing in 10 minutes instead of 2 days, and carrying everything you hate from your closet on trip and hate it everywhere you go. It's like, let's change it up, and I think that COVID has kind of helped do that. Now, financially, were people spending X on a dress to go nowhere? It was tired and quiet and scary, but we're coming out of it. We just have to look at it as a cycle and kind of flow with it. And I think it's important, and for people in fashion, especially, and I've been in a lot of beautiful fashion shows with people that are well trained, that are well connected, that know every trend that's going on in fashion. I don't watch TV. The last thing I watched was Seinfeld or Modern Family. I don't know what's going on in the world. It's too much for me. I'm an empath. I watch the news. It overwhelms me. But like I feel like things have changed. And I think what people do in fashion, they want to be the next best crazy thing, and say they would create this very avant-garde stuff and whatever, which is lovely. But if you want to be a business, you have to find a need, right? You have to find a need and then answer that need to really be a business. So that's where I think a lot of time fashion designers that are much more talented than I am, much more well trained, much more can craft blazers and this and frills that come around here. And I'm like, how do I put a pleat in this, But I think that there's a disconnect sometimes between very high fashion and being a brand that people need and want to buy from. And so if I had anything to say to up and coming fashion designers, it would be fall somewhere in the middle. Let's create some things that are really fun and wild and people haven't seen, but that people need and can get a lot of use from. And it's not an easy thing to do. But if you want to survive and actually make a living doing whatever it is that you're creative at, find a niche, keep it small, but that's kind of a disconnect somewhere. You're either very high fashion or you're not. And I think that you can be both. But if you want a business and you want to thrive and not just walk, the New York runways, but actually survive for 5 years after that, or 10 or 50, you have to find a need and answer that with whatever it is you're doing, not just fashion, but you've got to stand out. This world has got a lot of great people that are smarter than me and have a lot more money to invest, but they're not necessarily going anywhere. Find a need, answer it, stay close to it. Hopefully it's close to your heart, and combine all those things into something that's actually marketable, I think would be my advice to an up and coming fashion designer, for sure.
Absolutely. So I know you referenced being dyslexic and throughout this interview. Now, how do you deal with your dyslexia when it comes to, dealing with your fashion line? Do you face any challenges with that in creating things, and how do you actually deal with it?
Yes, it's very frustrating. I feel like I just start working with fabric because I can't read a pattern, and then try to make it fit or do something wonky or whatever. And if it doesn't, then I try again a different thing. And I'm just chopping up fabric. And then I try to make a pattern. And then I try to use that pattern to make a piece and see if it still fits. I mean, it's just wonky. But the thing is like when you don't know what you're doing, you don't know what you can't do either. You know what I mean? Like when there's no path to get there, like you don't feel inhibited. Like I'm done feeling like, oh, I just wish my brain worked better. And yes, all of those things, but it ain't gonna. So that being said, I don't know what I can't do. So I just get down and start trying. And it takes a long damn time. I am not gonna lie. I'm creating this jumpsuit that could be worn as pants, but I also want to create the jumpsuit that could be worn as pants that fits a big girl up here who has a teeny waist. And it's like, it might be a simple concept, but I'm asking a lot of it. Do you know what I mean? And so to roll that out technically is very different when I don't know what a bias is or this is or that is. But I hopefully have this young woman who went to art school at SCAD and has some fashion design background. She's going to come and start helping me out a little bit, hopefully, because there's some things this brain just won't learn. But I have a vision for it. And if she can make a pattern based on something wonky that I put together so that I can get it produced easily and seamlessly, I want people to get the best product they can get. I want it to fit them. And sizing is a whole new concept for my audience. So while the pieces might seem easy, some of the best ideas are. It just takes a little bit of crafting to get there. And yes, dyslexia has been a pain in my you know what, But again, without it, I might not be here. I might have made the most beautiful gabardine pants you've ever seen and look like Katharine Hepburn and be selling against every other pair of pants on the planet. So is it a curse or a blessing?
I think
You
it's
know? Well, I think so too.
yeah.
And I think that if we start to look at some of the things we think are a curse, we'll find out that they are blessings, right? Eventually. Sometimes it takes a long time.
Well, society tells us that it's a curse,
Absolutely.
you know, and that's why we follow through with a lot of these negative connotations, like
Yeah.
dyslexia and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
As being one that has a problem, when
Right.
you are allowing that not to define you and your
Right.
creativity with your
Right.
fashion.
Right.
And that's the beauty in it.
Right. And I think that the more limitations we claim,
Yeah.
I can't, or I just couldn't, or I whatever, like when you claim your limitations, they become yours.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and negative self-talk is nothing that we're like free from. Not even me, not you. You wake up and there's that little thing, and I lost my keys again, and I can't find my so and so. People are like, "What do you do to work out?" I'm like, I wander around my house for hours looking for stuff I lost and trying to, that's the ADD. That's just, and some days it gets the best of me. I'm not gonna lie, where I just want to kick my own butt and be like, why, but that's part of it. This is my package that I have to work with, and it's a struggle and it's a gift and it's just part of kind of who I am, and everything could be much worse, right? When you start to get down on yourself, you're like, shoot, I got this, and I think I do most days. But if I could do anything, it would just be to share with others that believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, give it to God or whatever it is you believe in. Let your gifts be from Him if you feel like, or her, or whatever, the universe. If you don't want to own it or claim it, or you feel ashamed or whatever, shine, shine, shine. Give it away if you need to, but shine, because when you do, genuinely, not for the sake of a pat on the back or whatever, but when you're living in your truth and being your weird, whatever that looks like, other people get to do the same. And that's really cool. You see other people kind of branching out a little bit and like, all right, let's get down.
Yeah.
Be comfortable. And that's where we thrive. And that's what attracts other people to us, is that confidence that doesn't come from ego. It doesn't come from I'm skinny. It doesn't come from I'm rich. It comes from within. And when we live in that space, that's when you attract your tribe. That's when I attract the Andrea, the Juju, the Clay, the Liza, is when I finally start to live in that space. I magnetize others that are like me, that want to help, and you don't have to get too convoluted and I need a this or that, and I need a legal team, and I need no, you don't. Just be authentic and you'll attract good people into your life.
Absolutely. Being contentness.
Yes.
Ultimately,
just be content, right? You don't have to settle.
Yeah.
Be content. Yeah, for sure.
And being content, you let your light shine. And that's important. And ultimately that light attracts other people. Light attracts other light. Sometimes it's darkness, but you definitely get a lot of light too.
We do. That's, what, Clay and I had that very conversation today, was that sometimes this earth doesn't feel like the good guys win, right? You're like, what's the deal? Like everybody that seems to be thriving has, half evil or cutthroat or this. And it feels that way a lot. And maybe it is that way a lot, but winning looks different for me. Probably winning is being able to live my truth, feel like I didn't sell out, make what I make. Like I said, hopefully it's going to be enough to share with the world. But in the process, I will have lost nothing, even if I lose everything.
Absolutely.
You
know what? The thing that I had to learn is someone kind of broke it down for me, which is no matter if you get 1 million viewers right out the gate when you launch the podcast, that small handful of people that are tuning in the first episode, that can mean a lot to that person, whoever is listening.
Absolutely.
You may not touch 1 million people, but you may touch 5-10 people. And there's something within that podcast that someone needs to hear that you can help them with. And the same thing for you and your fashion line. You know,
That's it.
you may not be super, super high fashion, but you're content with where you are. And ultimately, it's a demand that other people want because
Mhm.
diversity is not something that you see within the fashion industry too much.
Right. No.
Fenty,
Yeah.
who's kind of
Yeah.
breaking down those barriers, and Torin and all these other, plus size fashion lines that are kind of out there that have been around for a couple of years.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty in this is like there's so many people in this world. Why is it that, one sort of person is always, idolized? There's
Yeah.
just more to that. So
Yeah.
that's awesome that you're doing what you're doing because you're realizing, hey, this is for everybody. I want to touch everybody with my clothes. It
Yeah.
may not be you talking, but just your fashion in general. You're making people feel good. You're making them feel loved. Like, oh wow, when I go to the store, it's I can actually fit into something and it's beautiful and I can wear it so many different ways.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody should have the freedom to feel and look beautiful. And we did the trans show for transgendered women in Chicago for Chicago Fashion Week. Had 19 incredible trans women walking, and they were all there representing a trans person who had died by the hands of a hate crime or suicide or whatever. And golly, they looked so gorgeous, and I felt so proud to offer this piece or whatever it is I do to make every woman, I mean, men wear the nomad wrap and whatever, but just to feel beautiful and to feel comfortable and yeah, like I said, comfort is where beauty starts, right? So yeah, it's been a good thing. It's been a good thing for sure.
Yeah.
A lot of reflecting going on right now.
That's okay because reflection is learning. So
That's
that's
right.
fun.
That's right. That's right. For sure.
So tell me, what does Morph have in the works right now? Are we working on any new things that we're going to launch pretty soon, or what do we got
Yeah.
in the works from
Yeah. Thank you for asking. Yes, we're actually launching a piece called a moda, which is it's like a column that can be worn across the bust, underneath, or over the dress, or over the shoulder for just another sort of piece of color. It's a belt. So everything that I want to do, I want to have multiple uses for. Again, so it's not something you want to throw out. You don't need 15 belts when you can wear this thing 1,000 ways, or wear it even to the beach, or wear it instead of a bra. Or so we're coming out with a moda very soon. It's being made right now. And also I touched on this jumpsuit that is going to be so badass,
Mm.
with pockets,
Ooh,
but that it can be worn as pants.
okay.
And then so you pull the top down and then it's just pants with a nice wide waist. It's super comfy. But the pants themselves are palazzo pants that can be tied into harem pants or genie pants or whatever. Like whatever is your style, you'll be able to do. And so that's another piece. And then I've got this goddess dress. And then I've got, 1,000 other things. But like I said, everything takes some time. And part of that is that I am not trained, and that I am dyslexic, and that I do need help in the math of crafting these things to actually go to market and physically sell them. And now when somebody buys your piece in Ireland and they pay $140 in customs fees, you got to get that piece right. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like you can't screw that up. And we can't take returns and stuff from overseas. So like I have to make sure this stuff is right. So I get nervous, and it takes me time to feel bold enough and a perfectionist on top of it. So that makes things slower. And then sourcing the fabrics is a nightmare for me because stretch is everything. And if it's not the perfect stretch, and getting prints is a nightmare because you fall in love with the print, but then you make a small and all of a sudden a small doesn't stretch the way the other small they bought was. And then it's this, I want to make sure they're getting exactly what they want. And so that's a challenge, but I'm working on it. I've got people on the streets of New York right now looking for stuff from me.
Right.
So I'm hopeful, but sometimes it's a slower process than I would like. And it's very frustrating. But that's sort of part of it too. And in the meantime, we're getting our ducks in the row to launch in a big, big way. And we're seeking investment, not a huge investment, but it's time to scale for sure. We've never had investment. Looking for some investment for ad spend and producing these new lines. And there's just a lot of places to go with this. And we get a ridiculous amount of traffic on our website. And I think half of it is some looky-loos. They're like, what? Like they don't even intend to shop. They just want to see what it is.
Curious.
So I'm not saying that's converting into like, I'm just saying that we do have a lot of eyes on us. And so I want to be able to offer them a lot more products that are really fun and really good. But I expect a lot out of these pieces. So
And that's great. You put a lot of your heart and soul into your pieces, and then you let it speaks for itself. I'm looking at it right now and here in the flesh, and it looks amazing. And the fact that it's so multi-dimensional.
It is. It's super fun. I got to get you in one of these.
Yes, I need one.
I'll send you one.
It's terrible. When I'm going on planes, like I have a whole suitcase from my shoes.
Oh,
a whole suitcase from clothes, like probably like 2 or 3 suitcases. So it's crazy.
You might as well be traveling for a month if you're going to travel for 2 days. That's how I feel. Like typically in the past, it was like 2 days or 2 weeks. I'm still taking all of it.
Yeah.
And we got to change that. We got to travel light.
Yeah.
You know, look good fast. If we're hot, we can cool off. Like, this is stupid stuff, but like, let's just do that. And then we'll feel better, and it's easy and it's fun and it's not such a burden to go someplace, you know?
Exactly.
You gotta feel free.
Exactly.
Time is fleeting. We gotta like get out there, you know?
Yeah. Mama's in desperate need of a vacation right now.
That's right, girl. Both. I just want to run sometimes, but you know, I've got a lot of wonderful things happening here and a lot of things to be grateful for. But there are days where I'm like, I want to talk to anybody. I want to sit on a beach. I want to drink rum and like be someplace tropical and just forget it all for a while. You know, if you could just like stop time and then come back and everything was just in its place and people didn't even know you're gone, you're like, that's what I want. That's my superpower, like invisibility. Well, gone for a while. Okay, back. I'm good.
We morph into a genie.
That's right. Right. That's right.
So with you having such a busy life, dealing with fashion, you know, having your children, how do you balance your work life and your, you know, home life? How do you balance those two?
Very poorly.
Still work in progress?
Very poorly. Yeah. So Clay, my lovely man, for my birthday, God love him, he bought me a chiropractic visit. Wow. You know, because I'm like always hurting and always this and complaining and stuff. And it's just not something I would prioritize for myself. So I need to get better with self-care. I mean, like I wax my own eyebrows, I paint my own nails. I just kind of do everything and don't really take the time to regroup and do the things that I should. I'm getting better. And he and I enjoy each other's company so much, which is good and bad because now we sit on the couch at night and talk and listen to music until like 3 o'clock in the morning. And we're old. I mean, it's like, shouldn't we go to bed? But it feeds my soul and it feeds my spirit. I never want to neglect my children for work, but I think it's also important that children get to see what it looks like to create success and that they're going to be fine. You know, that we don't have to be helicopter moms and all up in their grill and, you know, showing up for every little everything. Like it takes work to get there, but it's worthwhile. And I know that they're proud of me and they definitely know who I am. And I hope that whether it's being an entrepreneur or not, that they understand there's a lot of joy and a lot of sacrifice, but we can never be everything to everyone all the time, period. So when I'm deeply diving into my kids, nothing got done at work. You know, when I had a kick-ass day, I, you know, started dinner at 9 o'clock at night. So we have to be okay with that. We have to let ourselves off the hook and that nobody has it all the time. And so we just need to realize that when we compare our lives to other people and stuff, it's just a wackadoodle thing down the drain. You know, we just do the best we can every day, but we're not going to knock it out of the park. Not every kid is going to be pleased with us. And homemade cookies are from a tube, but I made them at home. So they're homemade. You know, I got to be fine with that. You know, I'm not going to bust myself up for like, I just can't. It's not my gig. Not in this lifetime.
It's okay.
Okay, right? That's a self-acceptance that I think comes with age too, that I'm not going to be all of those things, but I'm going to be me. And I'm going to do my best to be stable and loving and authentic and genuine and make my kids laugh. I mean, we laugh like you wouldn't believe. And funny is so healing. And yeah, so I don't have any work-life balance, none. But I'm going to get there. Like I said, I'm going to get there. I'm going to start to do things that are healing for me mentally and physically. I'm at an age where I have to, because like I creak. God, like it's time to work on it. You want to stick around. You got to exercise every once. Okay.
You know, even for me, exercising, like I've never been a gym person. So me, I'll come at home, walk, and I'm good. That was enough for me.
That was enough, right? But see, you can't compare. I really need to get to that bar class. I'm like, do I have to get dressed up for that and wear lip gloss and fancy Lululemon?
Yes.
I'll stay at home and do my beach body for 10 minutes. Yeah. And sit down and take a break. It's just about doing you, you know, and accepting that you is plenty. You know, I think that's at the end of the day, that's how we have to feel, you know.
And it works for you. So yeah, it's a balance because it's working for you and you're still able to get your work done and still produce and make sure orders are out on time. So yeah, you found a balance.
It's working. It's working. I'm tired.
I know.
I'm sorry. Yeah. But yeah, and I think we need to take it easier on ourselves a little bit. Give ourselves a break.
Yes.
Have a bad day. Have a bad week. But surround yourself with people who forgive you when you screw up, you know, and forgive them in turn, right? That's the best we can hope for, I think. And I've got that.
Oh, yeah. Sure. So let everybody know where they can find Morph Clothing and your social media handle too, where they can connect with you.
Sure. Yeah. So morphclothing.com, and it's MORPH, morph like metamorphosis, like a butterfly or a moth. Morphclothing.com is where you'll find us. On Facebook, we are just Morph Clothing. On Instagram, I think we've got less than 11,000 people on that thing. It's been a slow crawl, but we are at morph_clothing on Instagram. And yeah, we do a lot of Facebook Lives every Wednesday. I have no idea what I'm going to say or talk about. But it's fun and we get to reach people all over the world instantly and talk live to them, which is a whole lot of fun. So yeah, so I know that like you young folk, I don't know how old you are, I don't want to ask, Facebook, but there's a lot on Facebook. We have a couple 100,000 followers that are just as good as gold. And what's fun too is that like if there's somebody who says something snarky on a post, I've got clients slapping them down and giving them the beauty of why this doesn't, and it's fun.
Squad.
Yeah, that's right. We created a squad of good people who get it.
Squad.
But check us out there. And if we can figure out TikTok, I don't know, maybe I'll be doing some like crazy stuff on TikTok. Maybe not.
I haven't even figured out TikTok. I'm like, it's not even me at this point anymore. I'm just like, it's hard keeping up with social media sometimes.
Yes, it is. And I'm thankful I've got a lot of smart people in place to kind of do some of that for me, or I would probably still be slinging dresses out of my car. So surround yourself with those who can help you with things that are not your forte. You'll get there a lot faster and a lot easier for sure. For sure.
Well, I want to thank you for joining me today, Miss Cristy. It has been a pleasure to be able to have you on to talk all about Morph Clothing and learning more about you. I want to thank everybody else for tuning in to another episode of Vibe Selection. Once again, I am your host, Kyra, and you can also connect with me on Instagram at I am Kyra Mahoney. If you'd like to help the podcast Vibe Selection by donating to Patreon, you can do so at patreon.com/vibe selection. Or if you like any Vibe Selection merch, you can grab that at www.teespring.com/vibe selection. Once again, I'm your host, Kyra, and I want to thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Vibe Selection. I'll see you all next week. Bye.
Thank you for joining Vibe Selection with Kyra. Come vibe out with us again next time and hear the latest on today's hot topics. Find us on Instagram at I am Kyra Mahoney or donate at www.patreon.com/vibeselection.